Hello everyone, welcome to Cyber Ducky. Today is a day 2 at ducky.com as IT guy. Before we start, I want to thank for everyone who watched my previous video, which is day 1, and those who subscribe to my videos also. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate that. Okay, let's move on to today. So we are at day 2. What we're going to see today is we're going to see how to connect our printers, desktop and laptop to the network. Yeah, so let's go back to our network here. Okay, not network, so-called. So this is our company, right? So this is the ducky.com. So we have 4 PCs, 2 laptops and printer, and our task is to just connect them to a network and make them network ready and able to use for the employee and company productivity, right? Before we do those wonderful things, let's go back to whiteboard. So what we need to do is I'm gonna take you through 4 important things before we started our journey to build our network skills. So number 1 is we need to understand about the OSI model, right? If you are coming from network background, or if you are even going to back networking side, or even if you want to become a cybersecurity engineer or maybe hacker, whatever it is, anything related to network, you need to understand OSI model, right? So what is OSI model? The OSI model is a reference model to understand where the network devices are working, right? So I'll explain that eventually more in depth. So number 2 is we need to know network devices and cable type, and we need to use how to connect these devices. Maybe we need to have to use Wi-Fi for certain device. Example, laptop, we're not able to using cable connection. It doesn't, it's disable the mobility of the user, right? So we may need to think about how to connect using Wi-Fi, right? Then there's a cable type. You can see in the packet tracer there is a below here says copper straight through. Then we have crossover copper, then we have fiber, this is console. So I will explain those things later. For now, let's see what are the topics we're going to cover. So number 3 is the IP address. So a little about IP address we're going to talk in this session. Yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit about IP address and MAC addresses and where it works in OSI model, where it which device it's handled these things, and what is the role of IP address and what is the role of MAC address, right? And then number 4 will be the ping tool. So the ping tool actually helps if you have a 2 network. Let's say let me see if I can. Let's say I draw small. Let's say we have 1 PC. My goodness, okay. So we have 1 PC and 1 PC here. So we have a network switch here. Let's say we connected. So to test these 2 PCs connectivity, we'll be using a tool called ping. P-I-N-G, ping. So we're gonna discuss that, right? So let's start with our OSI model, or OSI layer model. So OSI layer, right, it has a 7 layers starting from physical, data link, network, transport layer, and session layer, and presentation layer, and application layer. So in physical layer means physically how you're going to connect your network. Example, you have a desktop, so you're using a network cable RJ45, right? You just put in a network card, then you connect to the network switch or hub, or router, whatever it is you are connecting, or firewall. But usually you will not connect directly to the firewall and router, but usually the switches or the hub, right? So the physical connectivity, right? The cabling, which we're going to discuss that more in depth. Then the layer 2 is switching. So in switch, we will see again we have 2 type of switch, actually 4 type of switch. I would say first is L3 and L2, something called manage. I think I typed that one is better. Sorry for the mess. Okay, So we have L3 switch, L2 switch, manage and unmanage. So actually most of the L3 switch should be managed switch. Okay, so it's not a 4 type, but in L3 switch means manage. You can configure IP address, we can do a lot of VLAN creation, all things be done. In L2 most likely you will have either managed switch or unmanaged switch. So big difference between unmanaged and managed in L2 is that you should be able to create VLAN, and you can see network what do you call MAC addresses coming from which interface, then how it works. There's some technology is there to make sure that packets are going to the right direction based on MAC address table. We will discuss this one eventually, but I don't want to bore you at the second day at work, right? So, and the unmanaged, which unmanaged is like it's like a hub, they call it, or there is some advanced unmanaged which is also they can understand certain things, but typically unmanaged means it's considered like a hub. Maybe I show that one later. So these are the things works, but again layer 2 switch and unmanaged or unmanaged or managed switch, layer 2 will be working at in the data link layer. Okay, so again big difference between L3 and L2 is that L3 supports IP related technologies like routing protocol. You can create interfaces like a inter-VLAN, we call it inter-VLAN. So we will discuss that one eventually. Again, don't worry, we will cover it slowly. I don't want to put everything at one day. Second, L2 is, it's also when it's managed switch, then you will have to option called create a VLAN, but you're not able to create an IP address on that, right? So there's a difference between L3 and L2 and L3. So this is where the L2 works, comes in switch. So typically these three, if it is L2 managed or unmanaged, it will be in the layer 2, and L3 is here, comes in layer 3, where is the network layer where the IP involves. Sorry. Then we have transport layer where we have TCP, UDP, we call it protocols. We will discuss that later more in depth. And session layer, how when two computers communicate, how they maintain session. Then there is other technologies or other present protocols like TLS, SSL, encryption, the encoding. All this applies in a presentation layer. Then you have the application where you see the browser, right? So when I have a browser, if I open, it's working at the layer 7. So let me show this one also. Is also same L3 the OSI model diagram, but is a different is that it gives what device works where, right? If you say take the physical layer, it clearly shows that if it is a physical layer device main, it's a repeater, wireless repeater, then the cable and connectors and hub. Then we have the layer data link, which is the layer 2. We call it layer 2 or data link. We have switches and network card comes in here. Then we have a network layer, which is where the IP address and routers involve. So L3 router, L3 switch and routers comes here. Then we have transport layer, session layer, presentation layer, and application layer, where your computer and the firewalls and other things comes in. So which is the takeaway here is that you need to familiarize with yourself with this layer, because eventually when we troubleshoot, we're gonna go through these things, right? So eventually, I think we're in the day 2, right? So we will go eventually another few days time, we will get into the problems, network problems. Then we will find out why, and where is the problem. Is it in physical layer, or is it in data link layer, or is it in an network layer, or is it transportation, or right, transport layer. So that's it about that. Then I want to show you the devices, right? So this is the network switch. So usually the switches will have a lot of ports compared to routers, but I forgot to bring the router. Let me bring the so I managed to bring the router inside. So right, so again, switches usually looks like bigger. They will be starting from maybe 8 port, then some cases 10 port, some cases it will go up to 48 port usually, and port has a speed of 1 gig nowadays, up to 25-40 gig switches. But those 40 gig switches are data center switch, right? So, and we have a hub. So the big difference between give you an example between hub and switch is that, so let's say this is a switch we are using. Let me draw it. So let's say our switch has 5 ports. Here we have connected one PC1, and we have PC2 to port number 2, and maybe there is some more PC3. Sorry for the not clear picture, just to give you a brief. So the switch and the hub different is that this works, it has a MAC address list if it is a like layer 3 or sorry layer 2 or layer 3 both switches. So it knows which this MAC address of this system or this PC, and it will have a record of that. So it will say this MAC address A coming from interface 1, and MAC address B coming from interface 5, and let's say MAC address C coming from interface 2. So when this system send a message to let's say PC2, which is the MAC address B, so it will go directly to here, it will not go here. But if it is a hub, and if it is connected like few PC here, it will send from all the port. If it is PC1 here connected, and again PC2 is connected here, and PC3 let's say here, so it will send from instead of only one, it will send here and here. So this will complicate because it will be security issues. These things we will discuss later chapters. But for you to understand now, the big technical difference is that if you connected to a hub, it will send here, and it may send here also in some cases. So if whatever packet go here, it will go from all the ports instead of going to the particular destination. So that is the problem with the hub. So again, if you connect like 2 hub, right? So let's say you don't have enough port, you put another hub, then you connect and you move one of the system, all the other system. Then if somebody connected a loop, then there's a loop will happen. So packet will keep going, and it will both will be burned down. In a switch, it will not happen. There is something called spanning tree. We will discuss that later, right? So we will, when we go into the advanced switches, we will discuss those things. So I hope you understand the point that is most important at the moment is we have network switches. In network switch we have managed and unmanaged, and layer 3 and layer 2, which works in a different layers in OSI model. The difference between L3 and L2 is that L3 has a IP address, you can do inter VLAN, and L2 you cannot do that, you can only create VLAN. So we will discuss again VLAN in a future episode. Now the router, the router has no much port, it has maybe 2 ports. Maybe you will have one is WAN, it will be like WAN port, it will connect to the internet. In this case, if they say it's a WAN, mean it will connect to the internet. If it is LAN, mean it will connect to the one of the switch. So we will have the packet tracer. We will do all these scenarios, so nothing to worry. So I just want to have your understanding and difference, and just have some brief overall on that. Right. So anyway, if you have any questions, please comment. I will be happy to reply as soon as possible. And this is the IP address. So the IP address have private and public ranges. So today we will solely looking at private, and we will, in advance, in a later session we will discuss about IP addresses, private, public, and what happens if you use public in the local area, and all these things. So what we see here is that we have a few range. One is starting from 10 all the way to 5. So meaning we can use this many hosts if we use /8, but we can use as a divide. We can plan. So this is where the network engineering comes, right? You need to plan your IPs based on your requirements. Sometimes if you have a big company, then you're going to use this range. Example, let's say if we decided to 10 dot maybe 100, let's say 0.0 slash 16, maybe dedicated to US. You have a US company in US, then you have a company in UK, I mean the office in UK, not company, right? So you may say, okay, I use for UK network, I will use 10.1.200. You can plan as it is you want, /16. So anything within UK, it will go by 200 series as a network. Then you can break down smaller networks. Anything US is what 10.100, and then you can break by state, maybe 100.1 is maybe New York, 100.2 is 100, let's say I write it down for you, dot 100.2, this way also can break. So we can plan that. So the point is, I want you to have an understanding, or like what do you call, like introduction to IP address. So there is something called IP address, which is private and public, but we're going to look into the private. Then it has a address range from 10 series, 170 to 16, and if it is 170 to 18 or 17, means it's become what, public IP? No. So what is mean is that from 192.168.16 to 31, it all belongs to private. So within a LAN you can use this. So same thing goes here also. So most of the time you will see at home 192.168 range if you are seeing any network devices, right? Sorry if I'm going too fast, because I am trying to limit as much time as I don't want to take so much. So we discussed, or we already saw what is OSI layer. We will go in depth, don't worry, eventually. Second, we saw the network devices few here. These are the basics. Again, we will go in depth eventually. And second, the IP address, MAC address I will show you later. Just hold on that. And number 4 is the ping. Ping is a tool. Let me show you. So if you go to command line and if you type cmd, it will open your Windows ping. So you can see here ping 1.1.1. so you get a reply. So this, when you get a reply like this, it tells that you have network connectivity to this particular IP address. So if I don't know whether also have, I thought it won't be having. Okay, so if it is no reply, then you will get a different reply. I don't know which one I can ping. Okay, so there is no IP address. I can ping 100 or 100. So see, request timeout. So if it is cannot ping, you will get just timeout. If you can, you will get a reply. So this is the foundation. Again, we're going to look in everything in the packet tracer. Just wait for a moment, I'll explain that. So the most important 4 thing we understand already, right? So we go here. What is this? Okay, this is our network. So before we do anything in network, we need to have a plan. So we need to plan our network, right? Okay, so before we go and just connect anyhow, that's why I created this diagram. So what we need to do is, okay, we need to see what IP range we're going to use. So if we're going to go here, since we are a small network, I don't mind using 192.168. We don't need to think too much big. We are a small company, we are still growing. So what we think is we will use 192.168 0.0 range. Okay, but we'll use /24. This is /16. So that means there are a lot of number of hosts, right? So let me explain here that again here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use 192.168.0.0/24. Okay, so that means we can, this is our network ID, this is our host ID. That means we can have up to 54 IPs usable. Again, in a IP address session, I will discuss this one in depth. Okay, so we have talked so many things, so I don't want to confuse. I want you to show the network is up and running. So again, coming to the network diagram, right? So what we're gonna do is here, we need to plan how many IP addresses we need. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we are not assigning any IP for the switch at the moment. So I'm gonna use here 192.1.6. I think, let me type, I think it will be more clear to understand. So we're gonna use 192.168.0.1 for PC1. Then we're gonna duplicate this. Okay, so you cannot use this. Will be, if you use all, it will be become what do you call, duplicate IP, right? So we make it 2, 3, sorry, 4, 5, and something called, we will use subnet mask also, which is 255.255.255.255.0. So but that is basically means this is our network range, this is the host. So based on your subnet, the range of how many number of hosts will be different. If you change 1 bit here, it will be give you more number of hosts. Let's, if you have 1,000 hosts, then you need to go for 252. So this is where you will have more like close to 1,000 plus IP addresses, right? So anyway, we will go there, no worry. So our first target is to bring this network up, right? So then we can code in depth. So yeah, we have a design, reasonable design. So we know we're gonna use printer as a 5, IPCC is a 7, 1 to 4, right? Okay, let me minimize this, sorry for that. Okay, so now we have our network. Before we connect our printer, our system, so we're going to go here, we need to find the network device. So we're going to get what kind of a device. Okay, we use this. Okay, I think we use hub. Yeah, and then we just use the base system. Okay, so we discussed there is a difference between cable, right? So there's a different cables. We have 3 type of cable. Fiber optics used for most of the time long distance. Sometimes of course they use within the data center, but when it comes to connecting end system to a switch, it won't be using fiber optics. Again, we will come to another lesson where fiber optic need to be used. So we just focus on copper today. So we have 2 type of cables, straight and crossover, right? The crossover is, if you have 2 switch, we can use crossover. Since we have only 1 switch and connecting the laptop and desktop and the printers, so we'll use this normal copper cable. So the cable is good, that's why it's coming up. So we need to do this. And the printer luckily supports network. Okay, so we connected this, but we need to test, right? So the connectivity test, we saw we need to use command line ping, right? So let's go ping. What is the IP of the printer? Is 5 if I'm not wrong, right? 926.190.0.5. no reply. The reason is we never configure the IP address of any devices, right? So let it close. So let me go to the PC number 1, 0, desktop, go here, we will put IP addresses here. yeah, so we need to configure the IP address. Close. I know it's, sorry, it's not this one here. Oh, my mistake. IP address is here, port 0 2, sorry, subnet. So you need to always have a subnet, and there is something called default gateway DNS. We will come to that one later. At the moment we just focus on local area. All right, we are just beginning our journey. We don't need to complicate too much. Config 3, right? Then we have to have the 4, number 4. Done. And config static IP default gateway DNS, sorry, okay. 5 is the printer. Okay, 5 is used already. Did I use 5 here? Oh yeah, mistake. Should be 4. Network, go paste our IP 5. Okay, and this time around it works. Okay, done. So this one is, I think, L3 switch. So we can see that all the interfaces are up. Show interface status. So you can see port number all connected, and let's see the MAC address. Show MAC address table. See, this is what MAC address is. So MAC address looks like this, not like IP address. IP address is different. So later we will see where MAC address and IP address matches, how they works together, right? So we go to that stage. Be patient, we're going. And the video is going, I wanted to keep it at 15 minutes, but it looks like this is a very long video. I tried to finish it as soon as possible. I don't want to bore you with long, tough information. Okay, so this is done. So we need to do now connectivity test, right? So before we tried, we cannot ping number 5. Let's see. Yes, see, now we are getting the reply. So that means the printer is ready for printing. Your manager can print now. So you can tell the manager, yes, the printer is ready, you can print. This is the IP address. But again, printer configuration is another desktop job. That is, you need to go and install drivers and all. I mean, we cannot do that one in this, scenario. But if you are really an IT guy, So as a network engineer, our job is, or network guy, right? So called. So our job is to make sure the connectivity is good. We saw already. There is one more thing I just want to show you. One command called IP config is a bonus one. I show you now. I think all it will work or not. Right. So the IP config all is that it will give the information of all the interfaces which is whatever connector. So here also you can see physical address. So physical address is the MAC address. If you go to the switch, you will see this one, it will match. So there is a trick. So based on this, you know where is your system connected, right? So if you know this is PC's MAC address, and if you go to the switch, you can put show MAC address, and if you see where it's coming from. So again, this one we'll discuss in the troubleshooting situations. I just want to give, like, you can be very smart. Just find, okay, it's connected to this particular port number 4 is the where it's connected, right? So that's my point. So you see, this is matches this here. The only thing is this one is in capital, this one in simple letters. So then the IP address, it's use IP address to communicate device to device. Right, so we are left with the laptop. So for the laptop we need to do the wireless. I think we will do that one in a next. We need to set up a Wi-Fi, and we need to do that. We will work on the next another few, maybe next, tomorrow or next video we will work with the wireless setup. So the point is, takeaway, we already understand, just go through the video again. If you have any questions, please put in the comments. And I think this is only for today. And again, just brief, just go through this OSI model. If you have free time, go and Google about this OSI layer and try to understand more. And if you have any questions, please put in a comment. I'll be happy to answer. And thank you very much for your time. Again, if you are not subscribed, please subscribe. And if you're subscribed, thank you very much for your subscription. And please comment and let me know what are the things you guys want to learn more, so that I can give more better contents. So it will be help us for me to learn and for you guys to also learn more. Thank you for your time. Appreciate everything. And again, subscribe, share, like. Thank you.